My beloved sisters and respected listeners, many women today are struggling silently, struggling to meet expectations set by society, trying to please everyone but themselves, waking up every day wondering, who am I really? You see, the truth is, when you disconnect from your Creator, your identity begins to fade. One, losing herself to the world in today's world, it's easy to lose yourself. A woman may wear a smile on her face, yet her heart is shattered. She may be surrounded by people, but still feel lonely. She may have followers on social media, but still crave sincerity. That emptiness, it grows when Allah is absent from the heart. Whoever turns away from my remembrance, for them is a life of hardship. Quran 2001 24:1. 2. She tried everything but peace escaped her. She tried music, she tried relationships, she tried fashion, friends, even fame. But nothing brought her the tranquility she was longing for. Why? Because the heart was created to worship Allah. Nothing else will satisfy it. Remember, no matter how far you've fallen, Allah's mercy is greater than your mistakes. 3. The turning point. A moment of pain, sometimes it's heartbreak. Sometimes it's betrayal. Other times it's simply waking up and feeling lost. But these moments are not punishments, they are reminders. Allah wants you to come back. He knows you're tired. He knows you're pretending. And He is Al-Latif, the most gentle. He doesn't just heal wounds. He replaces emptiness with purpose. 4. Allah is closer than you think. Do not wait to be perfect before you return to Him. He says, call upon me, I will respond to you. Quran 40G60N. The doors of repentance are always open. A single sincere dua from the heart can change your entire life. 5. Islam gives her back her worth. When she found Allah, she found herself, no longer defined by people's opinions, no longer a prisoner of her past. Islam gave her dignity, confidence, and peace. Hijab became her crown, Salah became her anchor, and the Quran became her guide. Now she walks, not seeking attention, but seeking Jannah. 6. A message to every sister listening, my dear sister. If you've lost yourself, don't lose hope. Allah hasn't given up on you, so don't give up on yourself. Start small. Pray once a day, cry in sajud, say, Ya Allah, guide me, and watch how your world changes. You were never truly lost, you just hadn't turned to the one who created you. A final words, you don't need to be like anyone else. Just be the woman Allah wants you to be. That's more than enough. May Allah guide all of our sisters back to His light. May He heal their hearts, lift their burdens, and clothe them with strength, patience, and faith. Ameen. In today's modern world, many young women are silently suffering, not from physical pain, but from an identity crisis that no one sees. The world teaches women to define themselves through looks, relationships, careers, or how many people approve of them. She is told that her worth is based on how appealing she is on social media, how loud her confidence is, how independent she seems. But when the filters are removed and the lights are off, she feels empty. She smiles in public, but behind closed doors there is confusion, sadness, and sometimes even tears. She begins to ask herself, Who am I really? She tries to find herself in the mirror, but the reflection looks unfamiliar. She tries to find herself in others' opinions, but they keep changing. She tries to fit into society's version of the ideal woman, but the standards are impossible and always shifting. One day they say, be bold and outspoken. Another day they say, be soft and quiet. She wears different masks in different rooms until eventually she forgets which one was her real face. When a woman disconnects from Allah, she begins to live according to the world's false definitions. She feels pressure to compare herself to others, especially on platforms where everyone appears perfect. She begins to measure her beauty, her success, even her happiness based on other people's highlights, not realizing that many of them are just as lost as she is. This comparison culture leads to deep insecurity and anxiety. The more she chases validation from people, the more distant she feels from inner peace. When she loses her connection with her Creator, her heart becomes restless. Why? Because the heart was not created to be fulfilled by likes, compliments, or trends. It was created to remember Allah. No matter how much the world gives her, if Allah is not in her life, her soul will feel neglected. That's when many women fall into dangerous patterns, seeking love in the wrong places, compromising their values, or pretending to be someone they're not, just to feel accepted. But no matter how far she's gone, deep inside her heart still whispers that something is missing. She knows that a temporary happiness isn't real happiness. She knows that the attention she's getting is shallow, not sincere. She knows that her soul is tired of pretending. And this realization becomes the beginning of her awakening. It's important to remember that losing yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, silent process. It begins with one missed prayer, one compromise, one I'll fix myself later, until later never comes. But the good news is Allah waits. He waits with mercy. No matter how many steps she's taken away from Him, it only takes one step back. And that one step begins with her acknowledging that the world cannot define her. Only Allah can. She tried everything. She thought maybe, just maybe, something out there could fill the emptiness in her chest. So she turned to what the world glamorizes, music that soothed her for a moment but left her feeling hollow once the song ended. She drowned herself in entertainment, endless scrolling and artificial laughter. It became a habit, distractions on repeat. But when the noise faded, the silence inside her heart grew louder. The more she ran after the world, the more exhausted she became. She tried friendships, thinking being surrounded by people would remove her loneliness. But even in a crowd, she felt invisible. People disappointed her, judged her, or simply didn't understand her pain. Then came the phase of relationships. She gave her heart away, thinking love would heal her. She looked for someone to understand her, to cherish her, to make her feel whole. But humans are flawed. She faced betrayal, heartbreak, and confusion. Each time she trusted too much, she was left with less of herself. She started to believe that maybe she wasn't enough, that maybe she was the problem. But in reality, she was just looking in the wrong places. She chased fashion and beauty trends. She dressed up not for herself, but for attention. A compliment from a stranger made her day. A critical comment could destroy her confidence. Her self-worth was now tied to people's words, their reactions, their approval. And this is where the cycle of emptiness deepens, because the creation can never fulfill the role of the creator. No matter how many hearts admire you, if your soul is disconnected from Allah, you'll still feel a void that no amount of praise or popularity can ever fill. She even tried to silence her pain with worldly success, grades, jobs, money, status. From the outside, people called her strong and ambitious, but they didn't see the tears she cried at night, the battles she fought in silence. They didn't know that even in her highest achievements, she still felt something missing. It's not that those things are haram, but when they become the center of your life instead of Allah, they begin to harm you spiritually. It took her time to realizing nothing in this world brings peace except the remembrance of Allah. That verse in the Quran. Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. It was more than words. It was truth. She tried everything else. And every time she came back to the same emptiness. But the moment she turned sincerely to Allah, even if it was with a broken heart, she felt something different. The peace wasn't loud. It was soft. It was gentle. It was steady. It was real. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was chasing something. She felt like she had finally come home. Sometimes all it takes is one moment, a moment of pain so intense that it breaks everything you thought you knew about life. For her, it came unexpectedly. It wasn't always a loud collapse. Sometimes it was just quiet disappointment after disappointment, a broken promise here, a betrayal there, a relationship that shattered her trust, a friend who turned their back, a plan she had built her hopes upon, falling apart in front of her eyes. It was in these moments, when everything she relied on crumbled, that the realization began to sink in. The people she thought would never leave, left. The things she believed would bring her joy only added to her sadness. The life she thought she wanted no longer made sense. And that was the moment she broke. But what she didn't realize then was that her breakdown was not a punishment. It was a mercy. Sometimes Allah allows the dunya to disappoint you over and over again until you finally turn to Him with a heart that's tired of everything except Him. That pain wasn't to destroy her. It was to rebuild her. Because the truth is, we often find Allah in the moments when we have nothing left but Him. When no one else can hear your cries, Allah listens. When no one else can see your pain, Allah sees. When even your own heart feels foreign, Allah understands it better than you do. Pain has a way of humbling the soul. It strips away arrogance. It removes distractions. It forces you to question what really matters. And in her darkest hour, when she fell to her knees in desperation, something changed. She whispered His name, Ya Allah, and it felt like the first real thing she had said in a long time. The tears weren't just from sadness anymore. They were a release, a cleansing. She began to feel what she hadn't felt in years, or connection, not to people, not to this world, but to her Creator. That turning point wasn't about her suddenly becoming perfect. It wasn't about memorizing every surah overnight, or wearing hijab the next day, or never struggling again. No, it was something deeper. It was her finally being honest with Allah. I'm lost. I'm broken. I've tried everything and nothing works. Help me. And that sincerity, even in its raw and imperfect form, was enough, because Allah doesn't expect perfection. He expects honesty, humility, sincerity. Her pain became her doorway to purpose. That hardship, the same one she used to curse, became the very reason she found her Lord. What once felt like a curse, she now saw as a blessing in disguise. Because without that heartbreak, she might have never turned to the one who heals hearts. Without the darkness, she might have never sought his light. And so, her breakdown became her breakthrough. The moment she truly began to live, she thought she had to fix herself before turning to Allah. She believed she wasn't worthy. Not yet, not while she was still struggling, still sinning, still broken. She would say, maybe when I become better, maybe then I'll turn to Allah. But what she didn't realize was that Allah never asked her to be perfect. He simply asked her to come back. His door was always open, even when she felt too ashamed to knock, even when she felt like everyone had turned away from her. Allah was still near, closer than her own heartbeat. She would cry herself to sleep some nights, not even sure what she was crying for. But even those silent tears were heard by Him. No dua goes unheard. No pain is ignored. Allah listens even when you don't speak. He knows the whispers in your heart. He knows the wounds you hide from the world. And He is not like people. People get tired. They judge. They remind you of your past. But Allah, He covers your sins. He waits patiently for you to return, and when you do, sincerely, He welcomes you with a forgiveness so vast that all your guilt begins to melt away. The Quran reminds us, call upon me, I will respond to you. There are no conditions on that call. You don't have to be sin-free. You don't have to have everything figured out. All you need is a heart willing to turn back. And she realized that. Slowly, gently, when she was tired of pretending, tired of carrying burdens she was never meant to carry alone. The moment she said, "Oh yeah, Allah, I need you," was the moment her life began to change. It didn't happen all at once. Some days she still struggled. Some days she missed prayers. Some days the past came knocking and she felt weak. But even on those days, she remembered Allah doesn't expect you to be flawless. He expects you to try. And every sincere effort is written, every small step rewarded, every tear for His sake counted. She began to talk to Allah, not just in dua, but in her heart. She told Him about her fears, her hopes, her confusion. And in those conversations, she felt something new, peace. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was calm. It was the peace that comes from knowing you're not alone. The peace that comes from finally being seen, heard, and understood. Not by people, but by your Creator. When everyone else may walk away, Allah remains. When the world grows silent, His mercy speaks. When your own soul grows heavy, His light lifts you. She didn't have to be perfect to return to Him. She just had to be sincere. And that was enough. That will always be enough. When she found Allah, everything began to change. Not just her habits, but the way she saw herself. For the first time, she no longer needed to impress anyone. She no longer measured her worth based on how much attention she received or how many compliments she heard. The opinions of people, which once dictated how she felt about herself, started to lose their power. Because when you recognize your worth through the lens of Islam, you realize that your value was never in your appearance, your popularity, or your social status. Your worth is in your connection to Allah. Before this transformation, she spent years trying to prove herself, trying to be enough for people, to meet expectations that always seemed just out of reach. She wanted to feel beautiful, to be seen, to be admired. But admiration is temporary. It fades. People forget. And when their attention disappeared, she would feel invisible all over again. But the moment she turned to Allah, she felt seen in a way she had never experienced before. Seen not for her looks, not for what she could offer others, but for her soul. Islam gave her dignity. She didn't need to lower her values to feel accepted anymore. She began to wear her modesty with pride, not as a restriction, but as a badge of honor. Her hijab, once something she feared would make her stand out, now made her feel safe, protected, respected. It was no longer just a piece of cloth. It was a statement that her beauty was sacred, not for public display, but honored by Allah. She no longer felt the pressure to fit into worldly molds of perfection. She found beauty in her purpose, not her perfection. The salah, which once felt like a burden, became her peace. It became the only time in her day where she could breathe freely without masks, without judgment. Each sujood was like returning home, placing her forehead on the ground, not in defeat, but in freedom. She realized that the greatest strength is in surrendering to the one who controls everything. She stopped chasing people who didn't value her. She stopped breaking herself into pieces to make others comfortable. Islam taught her boundaries. It taught her that her silence could be strength, that her patience could be power, that her character, not her clothing or charm, is what defined her. Her confidence grew, not the loud, arrogant kind, but the quiet, rooted kind that comes from knowing Allah is with you. She smiled more, not because life was perfect, but because her heart finally felt at rest. She began to live for the one who created her, not the ones who constantly misunderstood her. She began to walk with purpose and talk with kindness and carry herself with honor, because now she knew who she was, a servant of Allah. And that identity gave her everything she had been searching for. To every sister who feels like she's too far gone, too lost, or too broken, know this: Allah has not given up on you. And you should not give up on yourself. No matter what you've done, no matter how long you've been away, you are still loved by the one who created you. He is waiting for you. Not with anger, not with punishment, but with unimaginable mercy. Sometimes all it takes is one sincere moment of turning back. Just one tear in sujud, one heartfelt dua, one whispered, Ya Allah, guide me. That could be the moment everything begins to change. You don't need to be like anyone else. You don't need to look like the girls society praises or live the lifestyle the world glamorizes. You were never meant to fit into a mold created by people who don't know your soul. You were created by Allah with your own unique beauty, character, and purpose. The world will always have opinions. They'll say you're too quiet, too loud, too soft, too strong. But when you live for Allah, their voices no longer matter. You'll find peace in knowing you're pleasing the one who truly knows you. Take the first step, no matter how small it feels. Pray even if your heart isn't fully in it yet. Cover even if you're afraid. Read even one verse of the Quran. Even if it's difficult, speak to Allah in your own words. Cry if you need to. There is no shame in being broken, only in refusing to seek the one who heals. Your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It's not about how fast you go. It's about being sincere and consistent. Allah sees every effort, no matter how small. And with Him, nothing is ever wasted. If you fall, get back up. If you make mistakes, repent. If you slip, return. That's the beauty of this path. It's not for the perfect, it's for the striving. Islam doesn't require you to be sinless. It requires you to be sincere. And the more you return to Allah, the more He will open your heart, ease your burdens, and transform your life in ways you never imagined. This world is temporary. The people we chase today may not even remember our names tomorrow. The standards we struggle to meet will keep changing. But Allah remains constant. His love doesn't fade. His mercy doesn't run out. And His door never closes, no matter how many times you've walked away. So, dear sister, come back, not for anyone else, but for yourself, for your peace, for your soul. You were never too far gone. You were never too broken. You were simply being prepared for a deeper, more beautiful connection with your Creator. And that connection will give you a strength, dignity, and joy that nothing in this world can take away. My beloved sisters and respected listeners, if there's one thing we must remember, it is this: losing yourself in this world is not the end of your story. Sometimes it's actually the beginning of a far greater one. The moment you realize that your soul was never created for this world, but for the one who created it. She lost herself, yes, in the noise of society, in the pressure to please, in the chase for love, beauty, success, and attention. But it was in that very loss, that very darkness, that she discovered something greater than herself. She discovered Allah. When the world broke her, Allah rebuilt her. When people judged her, Allah forgave her. When she felt unseen, Allah reminded her that He is all Basir, the all-seeing. When her heart ached with confusion and pain, Allah sent clarity and peace. And when she turned to Him, even after turning away for so long, He didn't reject her. He welcomed her back with mercy, with love, with open arms. To every sister listening, you are not defined by your past. You are defined by the sincerity of your return. every wound you've endured, every tear you've shed, every silent prayer you've made, it all matters. You are not alone. Allah is closer to you than you can imagine, and He knows your pain even when no one else does. So come back to Him. Walk, crawl, or cry your way back, but come back. Because the moment you find Allah is the moment you find yourself. And in that moment, you will realize you were never truly lost. You were always being guided home. May Allah heal the hearts of all our sisters, elevate their ranks, forgive their pasts, and make them women of Jannah. Ameen.